Hi there, my name is David Rittenhouse. I'm with Senior Care Hacks, and today we're at, where are we? Moon Underwater Brew Pub here in beautiful Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. And today we're going to be talking what it's like to be a caregiver of someone who's in another country and caring for them remotely. So let's go in and have a beer and talk. So hi, my name is David Rittenhouse. I'm the host and executive producer of Senior Care Hacks, a show for caregivers who want to be better at what they do. So I'm here today with David Whittington, and he's a resident of Victoria, and we're here at Moon Underwater Brew Pub, and we bought the sampler.
Which is very good.
I think so. It's a good start. We have some beer to drink. We'll see how quickly we get through this. Quick rundown on Dave. He is British, as you will tell from his amusing accent. And Dave has his PhD in computer science from somewhere in Europe. He's an associate professor at Royal Roads University, instructing in MBA and leadership courses. So today I wanted to talk with Dave because he's in an interesting situation where he's caring for aging parents in the United Kingdom. Dave, why don't you tell me a little bit about what the situation is and what you're doing?
Well, my parents are both in their mid-80s. They both have their brains fully functioning, well, as fully functioning as 80-year-old brains do. I mean, I was supposed to Skype with them on Sunday and they didn't show up, which is a bit nerve-wracking, but I got an email on Monday saying they forgot, all the days are the same. But fair enough. 2, perhaps 3 years ago, they moved into sheltered housing, like a big retirement complex called Bourneville Village,
right,
which is in the southwest of Birmingham. It was super comfortable. It was a bit stressful getting them in there, but now they're in there, they're settled. We've got 2 brothers.
And where are they?
My older brother is in New Zealand, so he's even further away from them than I am.
Yeah.
And then my younger brother is still in the UK, so he's in the Midlands, probably about 100 miles away, something like that.
Okay, excellent.
So, yeah.
And what's that dynamic working with your brothers? How do you guys share the responsibility of care, or
I guess we do, but we've not really talked about it. It's just like happened that way. Of course, Roger's the one. That's my younger brother. He's the one who is at home still. Does all of the stuff that needs to be done face to face. He visits regularly.
Right. Okay.
And then me and my older brother Pete, we Skype with them every week when they remember.
Right. So
I probably have more contact with them now than I did 20 years ago. Even though they're retired and I'm now here, and I chat with them for somewhere between half an hour and an hour every week.
And that's on Skype.
And that's on Skype.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, if I can interject, we can stop and drink because so we can stop and do that. Oh, that's almost empty. Okay.
Well, I was thirsty. Getting them on Skype has been a challenge, but it's I've got a background in tech, as you mentioned, so I managed to go over there and get a laptop set up with Skype on it for them, print out some instructions about, this is how you log into Windows, and just because it says it's an account, it doesn't mean that you have to pay for it. Don't worry about that. And those kind of things are really very clear instructions. That the problems arise when things change, like Skype wants to download an update, and what does that look like, and then everything changes for them.
Right.
And anyway, I visit probably once a year, something like that. So I'm about to go over and visit them in July, and that will be a chance to go through the computer, make sure it's clean and tidy and updated. They don't use it for very much, other than Skype. So
other
it's
than
not,
speaking with family, like
it's not full of games and things like that. So
Got it. Okay.
It's not too problematic. And because they're in a sheltered kind of complex now, there are people there that provide some tech support.
Oh, that's good.
Which is really helpful.
Right.
Yeah. And my brother Pete, who's in New Zealand, he Skypes with them, but because of all the time zone differences, we don't Skype at the same time. In fact, Skyping at the same time would probably just be too confusing for them to have more than one person on at a time.
You were mentioning that having it's like having family in 24-hour coverage around the globe.
Pretty much
here in British Columbia.
The sun doesn't set on the brothers, kind of.
Right. Oh, okay.
In the same way that the sun never set on the British Empire in its heyday. Because I'm in Western Canada, Pete's in New Zealand, Roger's in England. We've pretty much got it covered. So
that's great.
The nice thing is that if an emergency arose, there's always somebody awake.
Got it.
And the home that they're in has all the contact details. So if they need to get in touch with us, then they could. They've got email addresses for all of us.
In addition to Skype, are there any other technologies that you've thought might be like a good tool to help monitor the well-being of your parents while they're at their place or out around town?
I would love to get them onto something like the Amazon Alexa system,
right,
which is available in the UK but not in Canada. My challenge with that is that I really need to be familiar with it before I introduce it to them. And because it's not really available in Canada, it's hard for me to get familiar with it so that I can introduce it to them. But I think things like Alexa and Google Assist, those voice-activated systems, may in the end be much more user-friendly for them. Because I wouldn't have to type a list of instructions, what to click and what to type and what to press and all that kind of stuff to get into their current computer. If they had something that they could just say, Skype Dave in Canada, and it just connected up Skype to me and they could start talking, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
I think it's on the way, but it's probably a year or two away, but we'll see. But some of that artificial intelligence applied to voice-activated systems in the home, I think that has huge potential for seniors who never really got used to using keyboards and mice.
Yeah, and that's we're getting a little technical here, and this is great because that's one of the things with
I'm sure I'm sure there are other nerds out there.
Oh well, we want to we may have you back for another nerdy show to really talk about some of the artificial intelligence things. So great idea for a future show. And that's that thing you were talking about with
the phone is the obvious one,
right? Or even
when
Skype
fails, we just lift the phone because that's the one technology they grew up with, they're used to, they're familiar with. They can work a phone,
right?
They can even dial international now, which is pretty good.
Oh, that's good. But one of the things about user interfaces and technology, you look at, like you were saying, you're introducing how to use the computer and logging on to a personal computer, and for them the learning curve was pretty steep, and then you see the tablets, people being able to press buttons, and now, as you said, with Alexa and Google and Amazon, the direction things are going with in terms of artificial intelligence and being able to control technology, it's a really interesting opportunity for seniors' care.
Well, we thought about the tablet approach, and I thought about should they get a laptop or should they get a tablet. The problem with a tablet is written instructions get really even harder because I have to say, press the button that looks like so-and-so. You don't actually type anything in because there isn't actually a keyboard.
Right.
And I think giving them something that had no keyboard but they still had to kind of interact with would actually be more challenging at this stage than less challenging.
Right.
I mean, we could leave them one and see what happens, but my guess is that it wouldn't work. There is a funny thing though, because every so often they have speakers come in, and they tell the story about they have a speaker came in to talk about technology, and the speaker says, "So, do any of you have tablets?" And of course, they all hold up their pill bottles and say, "Yes, we all have tablets." So that's now a running joke with them.
Tablets,
they all have tablets, and they take many of them every day.
Many tablets. Oh, that's a great joke. Oh, that's awesome. with caring for parents remotely, and interesting statistics in North America, 15% of caregivers in North America are caring for someone in another city, country, province, or state. So it's interesting, and they expect that to double within the next couple of years as well.
Okay.
So sorry, that's the statement. My question is, what in terms of caring for someone, parents in another country, what does good look like? Like, just say on a typical week or a month, like what does good or great look like for caring for caring for your parents?
I mean, first and foremost, good is when there isn't a call to say there's a problem. And touch wood, that's been pretty normal with my folks. They're physically pretty healthy. They've got all their faculties. They're doing pretty good.
That's good. Glad to hear that.
So that's good. So health is good would be kind of a good week. Them not forgetting to get onto Skype.
Have you ever had to call them on the phone and say,
yes.
"Okay, let's hop on Skype"?
I give them like 24 hours ish because if they're not on Skype, then I email, and if I don't hear the following day, then I would lift the phone. I don't lift the phone straight away because I don't know, it just seemed too much.
Right.
But I would lift the phone if I needed to. I think a good day is when we do connect, we can have a really good laugh. I get the sense that in the home that they're in, they have fun, but they don't have good belly laughs about old stuff because everybody in there they're new to. It's a new complex. It's 2 years old. So to reminisce about stuff with them that we can laugh about is good. We laugh a lot when I'm online with them. There's not much else I can do other than kind of entertain them, I guess. So, yeah, I think humour's important, and I can tell when my mum's got osteoporosis. So 2 of her vertebrae have collapsed so far.
Yeah.
I dread the next one going because each time, when the first one went, it was terrible. When the second one went, we thought she was going to die. When the third one goes, I don't know what's going to happen.
Wow.
So that's not good. But she suffers with her back, and my dad suffers with his hips. So they're not in pain, but if you can they can have a good laugh. I think that's important.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So the question was, what does
good look like?
What does good
like?
look like is when we sit around and have a really good laugh together,
right? And
the Skype becomes invisible. It's like I'm sitting in the living room with them and we're having a good laugh about
that's
stuff.
Great to hear.
Just shooting the shit.
Shooting the shit. Yeah. Definitely. That's always a nice thing.
Yeah.
How do you find technology? I think for some caregivers, like informal family caregivers, they feel like when they're calling, it feels like they're almost like nagging, or just, are you taking your pills? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? Do you find that Skype or technology contributes to that, or how do you manage that in terms of like activities of daily living?
I guess I'm just not a nagger. I always ask them how they are and what's going on and what was your week like, and
typical things to ask anyone.
How's your latest visit to the doctor going? But in terms of, are you taking your tablets? I never have to ask stuff like that. They're grown-ups, they've still got all their marbles. They know what's going on. They can figure that out.
Okay.
So I don't feel like a nag. It would be interesting to get my younger brother Roger's take on that, because he is the one who's the true caregiver, because he's the one that's actually
he's there. He's in England.
He's physically present. But I think since they've moved into this little flat that they're in, this kind of condo, the amount of stuff that because Roger used to go over and have to take care of the garden for them. I mean, all sorts of bits and pieces. So I'm hoping that he has less to do. but now that they've moved.
So that was the transition, and this is another issue, and we didn't talk about this, but I'm glad you bring this up, is the issue of transitioning from your parents living in their home and moving to assisted living or a nursing home or whatever you want to call it. What was that like, the transition maybe how long did that take to transition from there to assisted living?
A nightmare.
How many years would you say?
Way too long. Way too long.
Okay.
I gotta have to.
All right, we'll drink to that.
Yeah.
Drink to that and contemplate that for a bit. Right.
My dad was kind of happy to move, willing to move. My dad is very, very keen gardener, so was really unsure about giving up his garden and his greenhouse and everything to move into something much smaller. But my mum actually was the biggest resistor. She did not want to leave at all.
Why?
I think my mum makes friends much more slowly than my dad. But when she makes friends, they are friends for life. Like my mum still goes back to Nottingham, where she was at high school, for a high school reunion every year.
Very
now,
nice.
There aren't that many left, but she still goes to this high school reunion, because these people she'll keep in touch with. She's got a small number of friends, but they're very, very important to her, whereas my dad is much more gregarious. Makes friends easily, but I think probably lets go of friends easily as well.
Okay.
So he was willing to move and make new friends, but my mum had been living in Kings Norton, which is 3 or 4 miles from Bourneville, where they were going to move to. But that 3 or 4 miles is significant when you're in your 80s. She was going to lose her neighbours and lose her friends. That's the way she saw it in her head.
So how did you? I'm sorry to interject. How did you present it? What compelled your mother? Like as your brothers?
I think we just all ganged up on her and moved her. This guy.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know. I mean, my dad just was assertive and pushed it through at the end of the day.
Right.
Could we have done it better? I don't know. I think my mom's happier now, and I think she's recognizing that with osteoporosis, the house that she was in, with stairs up to the bedroom. I mean, it was the family home. It was a 4-bedroom family home with stairs and a big yard and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It was becoming untenable. I think what she was looking for was moving to something in that neighborhood.
Yes.
But there really wasn't anything. They'd looked at things in the neighborhood, but nothing was really working.
Got it.
And then this place in Bourneville, which is like 3 or 4 miles away, came up, new development. My dad fell in love with it, my mum didn't.
Oh, that's great.
It was tough. It was really tough. Anyway.
What type of accommodation?
I don't have a magic wand for that one. I wish I had some magic to help people through that transition. I'd be there, talk to them. I spent a lot of time listening to my mom and nodding my head whilst disagreeing.
How many years?
But at least she felt heard.
Okay. How many years did your parents live in that house before they moved to the new accommodation?
I moved to it when I was 9.
Okay, so it was the family home.
It was the family home.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So a lot of emotional attachments to that. Yeah.
Okay. Not quite 40 years, but over 30 years in that home.
Okay.
So lots of, but I don't think it was the home that my mum was attached to as much as the people around, not the friends. I'd say it's not the physical home that she was attached to. I think both of them recognised that the home didn't work for them anymore. And the garden for my dad was becoming a chore and a responsibility rather than a pleasure, because it was just too big for him to manage. And for him to have a garden that wasn't in control was a bit of a nightmare.
Right.
So he was ready to go.
Are with the new place, the type of accommodation, is it independent living, assisted living, or nursing, or is there some?
It's I don't know what the technical term for it is. Independent. They're independent, but they're in a big complex with, I think it's 4 stories, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom units.
All right.
It's designed for seniors. You have to be a senior to get in there.
Yep.
All the sockets are halfway up the wall. There's pull cords in all the rooms if you have an emergency. There's 24-hour staff there if you need them.
Okay.
But you live independently. What's neat is that they have a bistro in this complex is big enough that there's a bistro. So if they don't want to cook, they just go and eat at the bistro.
Go down, right.
So my dad's struggling with diabetes right now. So he's kind of like trying to manage his diabetes without drugs. So he's eating weird foods like
that he would have never eaten before.
Well, he's not eating butter and potatoes anymore. He's eating
quinoa, maybe.
Well, meat and cabbage apparently. So I don't know. He's on this, but they're eating different things. But having a bistro means they can go downstairs, eat at the bistro. Excellent. And then resident volunteers help out. So everything is really inexpensive. So they go down and have their Sunday dinner down in this bistro place, and I don't think they could cook a roast for anything less than they pay. So that gives a social center for the whole place, which is neat.
And how's that worked with your mum, having that many people within the community, or this new community, all living in a very close proximity? How's that been?
She's getting used to it.
Okay.
It took a while. I have to say she probably was not happy for a while after they moved. She hankered after where she was, and my dad would drive her back so she could spend time in the library with her friends, and there was a regular trip back to Kings Norton to hang out with her friends. So they managed the transition pretty well.
So it wasn't just cold turkey and then not going.
Well,
it
was only a few miles.
Oh, okay. Oh, right. Okay. That's
so
good.
It wasn't like different city. It was just they were moving a few miles. They're in a different neighborhood, but a neighboring neighborhood. But when you're in your 80s, and my mum doesn't drive anymore, unless she really, really needs to, she doesn't drive anymore.
Right.
So, which I'm grateful for. But so and the public transport doesn't, because you're going in or out of town, there's lots of public transport links, but going around neighborhoods is awkward.
Got it. Okay. So with there's the transition to moving from the family home into assisted living or whatever type of accommodation it is, and we can find that out. What role did you and your brothers play in assisting with that, in convincing or compelling your parents?
There's no convincing or compelling them either.
Cajoling, maybe?
More listening, and just for my mum especially, letting her know that her voice was heard and her emotional response was validated, and it was okay to be upset.
Yep.
And yet still it was the only sensible solution.
Yep.
And it is upsetting, and we hit you and acknowledge that. And I think me and my brothers all were able to do that to some extent.
What were some of the things that you and your brothers said to your parents, to express how you felt about or how you felt this would be a good?
Well, just about how it's a good move. Was around. The house is too big. The yard's too big. There's maintenance that needs to be done, and if you move, you wouldn't have to worry about it. And also, you're two people living in what should be a family home. Wouldn't it be great if a family lived there? It's really close to a great park, And growing up there was brilliant. It's a great family home, but they needed to move out and let a family move in.
So to allow another large family to experience the wonderful
it's interesting. They keep in touch with the couple that bought the place.
Oh, great!
And they're really excited. They've just had a kid, so there's now new family in the old home, and that makes them very happy.
That's a really nice way to keep that tradition going. You know, that connection with the old house.
Yeah, and in terms of moving away from the community, it was just like reassuring my mum that it was only 3 miles away. She could go back if she wanted to. There are buses. She did have a car if she needed it. She could go back. And just to try and focus on, you know, rather than focusing on what you're losing, focus on what you're gaining.
That's a really good point.
But that's not my mum's default way of focusing, unfortunately.
It's what's being lost.
I hope she doesn't see this. Sorry, Mum.
You know what? Maybe if she gets on YouTube, we'll see her in the comments. Like, that's not true. I disagree. Hopefully, your mum doesn't troll you on this video on YouTube.
Oh, she may. So. I don't know. My brothers might. Anyway.
Well, that'd be great.
It'd be good to. Yeah. Pete, Raj, feel free to comment.
All right, we'll be sure to send that video to your brothers for sure. I don't think people have this kind of conversation. They're not seeing this kind of content online on YouTube. You know, guys sitting around drinking some fucking beers and talking about how they address some of the challenges they have of caring for their parents.
I think I talk about it with my brothers when we're face to face, but now that Pete's in New Zealand and Roger's in the UK, we just don't have that opportunity to talk about it. And what's interesting is that although we use the technology to talk one-on-one with my mum and dad, we don't actually talk amongst ourselves as much as I think we should about the care of them. And I worry that how Roger feels about that, my younger brother. Does he feel like he's left carrying the can? And so I'm gonna have to like connect with him. Having this conversation with you has like brought that up.
It's like maybe I should have a Skype conference call with my brothers, you know, and just have a.
Well, that's not going to happen because of the time zones. Unless somebody stays up all night or something, it's just hard. But I could. I don't know. We could
figure it out. Yeah,
figure it out. Yeah.
Interesting. That'd be an interesting thing to do there.
Can I interrupt?
Please.
You drink beer differently from the way I drink beer.
Yeah, I see you. You commit to one and just like.
I do one at a time. Drink it onto the next. Drink it onto the next. Drink it, and you're halfway through all of them.
I know.
Which I never thought that you could do it that way.
Yeah, I'm just kind of working my way around and then kind of jumping across.
See, I'm doing a circle, you're doing spirals.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, yeah.
I'm spiraling out of control, Dave. It's true, yeah. So, any other things you want to tell us about what it's been like being a caregiver with aging parents? Like, what's the experience like at this stage? I think
you have to give up on what you can't control. I mean, when you're at a distance, I'm at a big distance, 5,000 miles away.
Yeah.
And a good 8-hour flight with connecting flights, it's going to take me a day to get there. So if anything happens, I'm just not there for at least a day. And I'm willing at the drop of a hat to go if I need to. But I'm very, very grateful that I have a brother who is still in the UK, who is only an hour away.
Right.
So that's brilliant.
Have you spoken with your brother? I know we touched on this a little bit before, but about his thoughts about being like, I'm at home base, holding down the fort. Have you spoken with him about that?
A little bit.
So, okay.
I think he's a bit pissed off. Because
how so?
We've all talked about leaving the UK and going to somewhere nicer.
And he didn't.
And he didn't, and me and Pete did. So Roger always wanted to go and live in Spain, and and teach in an English-speaking. There's all the international schools,
Right.
English-speaking. So he's a teacher, and he wanted to go and teach in Spain, but he never actually did. Never pulled the trigger on that for various reasons, which I completely understand. But he never actually did it. Whereas I moved to Canada. Pete, my older brother, just recently moved to New Zealand, so we've actually, pulled the trigger and done it. And I worry that Roger now thinks that he can't because he's left. He's the one that's left, and I need to be really clear with him how I appreciate the fact that he's there and how I hope that he doesn't feel like he now has to be there, because we can figure this out.
All right.
And it's a conversation I need to have with him at some stage.
There's that you bring up a really good point about your brother, and it's because you're here, your other brother's in New Zealand, and you're like, oh yeah, the brother in UK, he's got it under control.
Well, no,
that's an assumption.
No, I think at the moment my mum and dad have it under control themselves.
Good.
But it's not like Rog has a whole lot of stuff that he needs to do. But I just worry that he feels responsible. If anything did need to happen, he would be the one that needed to do it. So he now can't move, even if everything else lined up that he could.
Yeah.
Does he now feel trapped?
That's right, and that's a big issue that a lot of caregivers
experience. And it's not trapped by
experience.
current issues, but by potential future issues.
Right.
I don't know. Anyway, something to chat about when we're all together at the end of July.
Good point.
So I'll report back.
All right. Well, that's a good idea. So in July, you're getting together with your brothers. Or you're going to have hopefully you'll sit down and...
It's the 60th wedding anniversary.
Oh, hey.
So
Congrats.
everybody is heading to Birmingham for the big party.
Will you have a planning session, or what are some of the things?
My dad's planned it all. Because, as I say, they still run their lives. They don't need me or my brothers to organise things. They've still got everything going. So
that's good to hear. Are there any contingencies? Because one of the things, not to create fear, uncertainty, and doubt, the FUD factor. I'm sorry, it's like, have you thought about this? I feel like someone who works in insurance, no disrespect to anyone who works in insurance, the status quo that you guys have right now changes. Like, what would you guys do? Like, you and your brothers, how would you manage that? What's your contingency plan? Maybe I'm putting you.
We don't have one. There's
Okay.
bottom line is
All right.
that we'll figure it out. I think we're resourceful. Hopefully we can figure it out. I'm self-employed, so if need be, I can just go. I mean, I would lose money, obviously, but I can just take time and just go if I needed to. If one of them got really ill or sick or something, then I think they're still at the position that the other could look after to a certain extent.
All right.
And being in this home that they're in, this Cornwall village, they can buy in more care. They can pay for a nurse to come in once a day if they need to. I mean, they don't at the moment, but if they needed somebody to come in, they could.
Escalate the amount of care they need.
Yeah. So at the moment they're on nothing at all, just in this place. But they could escalate if they needed to, as you say. Yeah.
That's
So I think to a large extent they could. I'd like to think that they can manage it for themselves. They're fiercely independent. So I think things would have to be pretty bad before any one of the brothers stepped in to take over stuff. If it did get to that stage, then we would have to lift the phones, get together. I think Pete getting over from New Zealand, I mean, that's the other side of the world. That's a very long trip for him. That's 2 days to get home. Me, I can get home in a day, so I would go home probably, and me and Roger together would sort it out.
right. Okay.
But there is no plan.
At this point.
I don't know if there needs to be a plan. I mean, the touch wood, as I say, they're given their age, they're reasonably fit and everything. They're in a home now where they can get support that they need, and
they're calling the shots.
So they can call the shots. So they're in control still.
That's good.
And I'm quite happy for them to be in control. I think if they ever weren't in control, then they would not be happy with that. So I don't want to take over control unless I absolutely need to. What are you on now? You're rotating back.
I'm all over the place, and I'm just getting a great smorgasbord of flavor here. I think just to touch on that with control, you brought up a really good point. It's what do your parents want? What are their wishes? And allowing
They've been
them.
very good about that, I think.
How so?
My dad keeps his will up to date and sends all the kids copies of it. You know exactly what he wants. Kind of like he was very detailed about stuff. When it came to the wedding anniversary party, my dad wanted to organize it. So
go for it.
He's organized it. I mean, it could be chaotic. I mean, who knows who's going to show up and stuff, but he seems to be having it all planned. There's accommodation sorted out because there's people coming all over the world.
Wow, that's great. And where in England is it?
Birmingham. It's actually going to be at their complex because the complex has kind of like meeting rooms and stuff like that. So there's a space that they can use for a party and stuff. So for them, it's really easy. You know, if they get tired, they just go back to where they live.
Let everyone else party.
The party just carries on.
I'm taking a nap. Yeah, that's great. Good to hear.
But
that.
all the children, all the grandchildren, everybody will be there.
Oh, that's excellent. Yeah. So, which beer are you down to? The first one now?
I'm down to my last beer.
Okay.
But I have more of it than any of your beers.
I think you've totally kicked my ass in terms of this flight. But
well, I think we probably have the same amount of beer left. It's that you have like a little bit in the bottom of every glass, and I've got. I think what I got left
your beer is lopsided.
It's a barrel-aged IPA with sour keys.
Right. Okay.
It's very nice.
The one beer that I really liked here, and these guys are well known for it. It's the creepy Uncle Dunkel dark lager, and I'm guessing that's this.
Yeah,
and that is damn fine for the guys here in Moon Underwater. So
shout out to the Moon. It's brew pub, great beer
here in Victoria, British Columbia, Canada.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to.
We should do a beer issue.
Should
just talk about beer.
Dave, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to speak with you about what it's like to care for family back in another country.
You're welcome. I'm not sure how helpful I've been, but if I have been helpful, that's great.
Oh, stop it. That's great. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right, so we're going to get back to drinking beer, and we're going to wrap this up. See you next time.
Cheers.